Wanda Young. I'm the Chief Marketing and Experience Officer for Ford Pro. I am so excited to be here talking to you about the 2023 Transit Trail, and as you can see, we're out in its natural habitat, but I'm here with some friends. I'm here to actually have the voices of Sydney, Colby, and Eric to talk to you a little bit about their experiences out with Van Life. Why don't you guys give a little introduction and tell everybody what you do?
My name is Sydney from Divine on the Road, and I have been traveling full-time now for 5 years and in a Ford Transit for the last 4. It's been the best years of my entire life. I have 2 dogs with me, and we've just been on the adventure of a lifetime.
That's great.
I'm Eric, half of the engineers who Van Life. We've built 2 Ford Transit vans out now, and our kind of whole shtick is we help people DIY their van build dreams as well.
Yeah, and I'm Colby, the other half of Engineers Who Van Life, and Eric covered it pretty well, but we are DIY van builders who are now full-time engineers on the road.
And Colby, you're a software engineer, you're an application engineer.
Yeah.
I was.
You were, and I've read you also help keep the van connected constantly so that you have internet all the time.
Yes.
We were just having that chat a minute ago, right, about how important it is for safety, and you want to feel secure, like as a woman traveling alone, and I think that that's a really important concept. Do you want to talk a little bit about how is that with Ford and the Transit van? Like, what's different about it for you?
Well, staying connected to 4G, like being able to actually have cell service, I think there's something really scary when you're out hours into having no cell phone service. If there is an emergency with myself, with my pets, with my van, and not being connected to anything or anybody, what do you do? And so that's a really big question. And so I think a van coming with that built in would be super helpful to always stay connected no matter where you are. And so to have a piece of that with you, I think is definitely very secure.
Yeah, we were also talking about just kind of being a part of the Ford network, right? Mm-hmm. Like, do you have access into like how many, we were talking before, it's like, with the 3,000 dealers and being a part of a service network so that you feel confident that you can be taken care of because you are out, right? We're out. And so, but I think it's pretty impressive that you're building all of the applications that you are. You guys have been investing in Van Life for a really long time. How many years?
I've been on the road full time for 5 years now.
5 years. So you've learned a lot. And you guys have been doing this for how long?
Just about a year.
Yeah,
just about a
Not quite as
year.
long.
But you've invested a lot to get your van to upfit to the level that it is now. We talked a little bit before now about numbers. I won't make you disclose it for this particular video, but one of the things you were sharing with me was how important it is that what you just saw with our new Transit Trail, there's some things about it that are upfit ready. Right? And you said how easy it makes the life. Like, what did you just tell me a minute ago? It's just going to make your life a little bit easier, right?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, like, we were listening to the features that it has, and it's every single thing that we have to put the time and the effort in to do ourselves.
Why don't you give some examples of that? Just a couple.
Yeah, I mean, for a big one, it's, the lift, the bigger tires.
And all of those features are already built in for what we're actually bringing to market. Yeah. And you've spent quite a bit of time over the last 5 years. You have a lot of experience being out with your vans and all the changes that you've made. So you want to talk about that?
I've done some of similar changes that they have as well with the lift and the tires. And to be totally honest, it's not something that I naturally understand or know a lot about. And so having something come with those features without me having to do a ton of research is so much easier because I had to dive in. Who can do a lift? Do you trust them? Are they going to do it correctly? And is it the right pricing? It's really confusing for someone like myself. I just don't. It's not something I gravitate towards. I love the interior of a van. I want to make sure that I don't get stuck, but I don't want to research how much lift I should have and why and exactly what tires. And so having something that just comes with those would make my life much easier for sure.
So this lift kit is a really important concept. And so for people who are not participating in van life today, if you're out in Europe in the cobblestone streets, you understand the suspension, how important it is that it can make it over these rough-hewn streets. But out here in the woods, you are going over some boulders and some really rough ground. And when you talk about not getting stuck, how incredible it is. So what is the advantage of, what does a lift kit do for you as you spent 5 years out on the road? What's the difference in a lift kit? What's it going to do when you're actually out on some really rough back roads?
Yeah, so I actually came here today from southern Utah, where it's Red Rock country, and some of those areas are just insane dirt roads where the whole van is just creaking and you're just trying. I have 2-wheel drive
Your
currently.
dogs must have loved that.
My golden retriever's next to me in a full panic. I'm just I'm so sorry. We're getting to a great spot. You're gonna love it. But she doesn't understand that in the meantime. And I'm just fingers crossed I don't get stuck right now. And so places like Red Rock where the trails and the roads I'm going going down are very rocky, it is intimidating to say the least. And so, yeah, having that would be nice.
And so this lift kit makes it sure that like you won't get stuck. It helps you navigate the terrain.
Yeah, sorry. So some of those big rocks that I'm trying to like go over and maneuver around, making sure that the van is not scraping those or getting stuck on them is really important.
Yeah. So the other thing that you guys talked about is actually the roof vent. So this is interesting. So in the van life community, a lot of times, you'll actually see people when they actually go to create their own kits. People are getting on top of their vans and they're sawing in to the tops of their vans, which that can be a little bit tricky, right? And so have you ever had to try to do that yourself?
I'm sure they have. I have not. I ask for help.
Did you cut through the roof of your van?
Our first one was the most nerve-wracking thing because you just bought this new van and it's like you're taking a saw to do it and you're like cutting it up. It does get easier the more of it you do, but it's that like first one, and the first one you always do is the roof vent. So that one's always like the big one that makes like the YouTube headlines. Oh, it's so scary.
That's right.
Yeah.
So like,
yes.
the second van was easier, the flares were easier, the windows were easier. But yeah, it's the first one that you guys are taking care of. And for some people, that's all you need because they can get the glass, and they get the fan in, and that's all the big sheets some people may need.
Did your first roof cut go really well?
I measured it too small and I had to recut it.
Okay. No. So these are the
Measure 10
secrets.
times, cut once.
Measure 10 times. Cut once. These are the important things about doing it yourself, right? It does always look very, very cool to be a DIYer until you just don't cut it right.
Trace
and
the
you
inside
just
of the line.
Cut a hole in the roof of your van, and you spent how much on that van? So really, really important to have a really well-working, ventilated. By the way, for people who don't van life, why is it important to have that ventilation?
Airflow. Airflow is
you're
everything.
living in it.
Yeah.
You can break out in like cups of water how much water you're expelling from your breath, from cooking. If you have like a little propane heater in there, that's combusting and creating moisture. So all these things, and in the PNW where we live, it's just always raining. So it's all
the humidity.
It's mold prevention.
Air does not.
Boils down
it's not
to.
very fresh living in that van.
Right.
And with your 2 dogs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, I keep the airflow on. The mold prevention is probably like the essential thing that you definitely want to have it like, it's like an essential. But for me, it's really just about keeping airflow when I need to go to the grocery store and my dogs are in my van and I have to turn my van off. Obviously, if it's like too hot outside or anything, I always have to take that into consideration. But having that airflow from the vent fan and cracking my front windows creates like a really nice ventilation that makes it much more comfortable inside the van. And so I always make sure, I probably have my vent fan on almost 100% of the time. And I mean, people are always surprised, like even on a windy day, I just have it going because I just like the ventilation and the airflow. Like I want it to feel breezy in there.
Yeah, and so these are some really important features. And it is an interesting thing that you guys are all just doing now. You're really revealing tips and tricks. It's like, again, for people, there are a lot of people who are out in the van life community, but then there's people who are, it's like, maybe they're interested to try this and they've never done it before. So let's just say that you were going to become a first timer and you wanted to go out and you're like, okay, that's it. I'm going to become one of these people. I want to do it. If you were going to pursue getting to be the first time out, what's the best advice that you would offer to somebody who said, I'm going to go? What would you tell them that they needed to plan for? Because this is your first year doing this, right? First year living out on the road, and you work full time, being out there, you're working. So it's like work and life all compressed into this van. How do you give people advice about what it's like to kind of start on an adventure like this?
You guys might agree. I feel like most people agree, especially even a year in, you guys will like have probably done this. Everyone I meet that has just moved on the road does the same thing. They go as fast as possible and they're like, I want to hit this national park, I'm going there. And then 6 months later, they might be out of money or they've hit all these road bumps or like something is happening. And I always tell people, like I get very excited when I meet new people on the road because I'm like, go slow. Like park in a place, just hang out, get to know the area, like really spend time in that national park. Like you don't know when you're going to be back in Yosemite. Do all of it, explore everything, and you just like get to know the places a little better. You get more accustomed to living on the road, I think, a little bit better, instead of having this like 1 year road trip and we're going to lock everything in. Then you can kind of like span it out a little bit and just enjoy your time and like live life a little bit slower, which is kind of why we do it in the first place.
That is the idea behind van life, isn't it? Is
Yeah.
to get out and kind of experience life differently than being trapped in either an office building, or those of us who are working at home like I do, unless I'm traveling. That's your life, right?
Right.
So you need to experience it, which is like you're not on a rush. It's not a road trip.
Yeah.
It's not the great adventure race.
Yeah.
So what's your advice? What would you say?
Yeah, for me, I think for us, the thing we learned is like, your mind is constantly going. You're always thinking, where am I going to sleep? Is our water full? Do we have enough power? Like, so learning to, like, when you have time to relax and like properly relax, but also just like preparing yourself that it's going to be more than living in a house. Like, nothing is really guaranteed to you. You don't know where you're going to sleep that night. So just the ability to be agile, take the punches and just keep rolling is something we've definitely learned. Even, we're still learning that. Is like, it's always something new.
What's the worst thing that's happened to you in your first year out on the road?
Yeah, I have a few, and they're all to my own fault, I'm sure. I've had a few moments over the last few years. It was a learning curve. I have been winched out of a ditch in Quebec. I have been towed out of like the beach in Baja, Mexico.
So good.
I've like blown a
It's
tire.
so great for your blog and your social media.
It feels amazing in the moment, right?
does.
No, I'm literally terrified. Every single time I'm like, what's gonna happen? Luckily in like Mexico, I had like some four-wheel drive people nearby. They were all like very kind, very helpful. It felt like a community in the moment. In Quebec, I called someone, and yeah, I mean, there's been a few moments I was in like a little bit of an accident, and so I sat in Fresno, California for 3 weeks while my van got fixed. It's been a journey, but
Hotel?
that was the hotel moment.
I think like
Wasn't going to share that story.
It's been so great to have you come and take a look at the all-new 2023 Transit Trail. So thank you for taking a view with us. I would just like to ask you if you could pick out, one feature. What would be your favorite feature of everything that you've seen in the all-new Transit Trail?
Can I put all the exterior things together? Like the lift and the wheels, like it's so rugged.
Great. What about you, Eric?
Just the ease of ordering it and having it that much more ready for you to build, take care of a
Think
lot.
of all that work you could have saved yourself.
Yeah, everybody that's building a van themselves, they want to get to the interior. They want to get to the designing and making it theirs. Like,
Sure.
they don't care about putting in the roof fan. They're just that's like going through the motions, getting it done. They don't care about the subfloor, upgrading the exterior. Like, it's the fun stuff that gets people actually excited
Yeah, the design
to live
work.
the whole life.
Good. How about you?
I would probably go with the lift and the tires. That was something that I really tried to prioritize. I did have to get it like from a third-party person with my current van, and that was a little bit stressful, and it just has made a world of difference for how my van drives, like on a windy day or if I am on like a rougher road. And so having that come with, I think, is really exciting. In addition to the 4G, like having the internet in the van, I actually really appreciate that as well, because working in my van is, every single day, that's something I have to do in my van regardless of where I am. So that coming with the van is also super helpful.
Did it surprise you guys to learn that Ford has a history of van life, that the company has actually been at this since we've been making vans for so many years, as you've learned those stories?
Yeah, that was awesome. Also seeing them, like, that was
All
really
of our
cool.
vans from the past, all the way from the Econoline from before.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Me neither.
He was like clicking through everything. I was so excited.
Yeah, I know.
It all makes sense. The Class A's, the Class C's, but the Class B market, because that's growing and that's kind of a newer market, it's kind of why you guys are making this shift, which,
Well, I think
super
that
excited it's happening.
The interesting idea is that Ford Pro has been making the transit van work so hard for commercial customers for so long. And so I think taking that history and then making it work now for people who want to go out on the road, it makes perfect sense, right? Because now we can take some of those things that we understood from work vehicles and now make it work for people who just want to take their life on the road. And as you said, it's work and life. It's all combined. Yeah. And so that's why we can take our work van and actually just make it now into this perfect thing that works for Transit Trail. So it's been fantastic to have you guys here. Thank you so much for coming to visit with me. Really appreciate having you here. And then we want to make sure that everybody will actually follow you and follow your van life.
So I'm Colby, and I am half of the Engineers Who Van Life. You can find us online on our blog, engineerswhovanlife.com, which is all the DIY van building and van life resources you might need.
And then also on Instagram, @Engineers Who Van Life. We post daily. Give us a follow.
I'm Sydney from Divine on the Road. You can find me at Divine on the Road on all social medias and divineontheroad.com for any solo female van life logistics or help or anything like that.
Thank you all so much for joining me today. I'm thinking myself of expanding this idea, of working remote to van lifing it with you guys. I'm just gonna get out there and follow you. It seems so freeing. I mean, I know you've told me it's really hard, but that's okay. All right, everyone, please get out there and follow Ford Pro on all of our social media handles. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, and YouTube. Love that you joined us. Thank you so much today.